Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Prosperity Through Multifamily Real Estate Investing Podcast. I am your host, Real Estate Cody, and with me, as always, the coffee connoisseur himself, Mr. Brian Alfaro. What's up, my man? How you doing, buddy?
Cody, I'm doing well. How about you?
Man, look, I'm riding a high. We had a phenomenal past few weeks, and let's start the show off right there. Let's talk about kind of like what we've had going on over the past few weeks, right? I mean, we just had just a whole bunch of great things going on. So, man, we had the first annual holiday mixer that we just hosted last week at the time of this recording, which was an absolute blast. I mean, what'd you think? It was a great turnout, right?
Man, it was an awesome turnout. It was great to connect with not only like-minded people, but people that we've known, and we also met some great new people as well. So definitely thankful for Julianne Peterson and Sid Shamim, Julie at Old Capital and Sid at Headway for partnering with us on this opportunity, and looking forward to doing it again. And man, we've got some other great stuff going on as well.
Yeah, man, it was really, really exciting. And I mean, we had people from Austin, Dallas, San Antonio come in to hang out. We had 70 people there. Just everybody was in the Christmas spirit and just networking spirit, man. It was really great. And don't forget about the toy drive,
That's
which
right.
was
I was about to
which
say,
is
don't forget.
yeah, man, it was really, really awesome to see everybody pitch in and help impact the community in such a positive way by giving to our toy drive here to one of our local charities. And man, it was just really exciting. I was really pumped about that. So I can't wait till we get to deliver those toys to the charity here next week. It's going to be awesome. So
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to grow and it's going to get big. We're going to be booking out ballrooms and stuff and conferences, and I don't know, we'll need like a bus for the toys in a few years. That's what
that's
I'm looking
right.
forward to.
That's right. Mark it on your calendar, folks. Right now, this date, Brian Alfaro just claimed it. Love it. Love
There you
it.
go.
All right, man. Well, let's talk about even something that's even more exciting. And we haven't announced it yet, but by the time that this episode airs, it's going to be out there to the public. We got the new deal coming that we've been working really hard on. Really, really excited about that, man. Boutique A-class community right here in Houston, Texas, available to accredited investors. And man, what a great way to end the year by just getting just a great asset under contract. What do you think?
Oh man, it's extremely exciting. Obviously, to end the year with putting a deal under contract, and we've all worked really hard, right? We get a lot. We've talked to a lot of professionals over the last couple of years, and we're putting in a tremendous amount of effort this year, and a lot of people have as well. So it's always nice to have some good things to end the year, and some things to be thankful for around Thanksgiving, and some things to celebrate in Christmas. And we're going to start the new year with a bang.
Yeah, man, it's super excited, man. To all that work, like you said, coming to fruition, and all those relationships that we've been building over time that are, all willing to kind of, help propel us to the next level. And really, really excited about that opportunity. So, for anybody tuning in today, if you're an accredited investor and you're looking for your next passive investment opportunity right here in Houston, Texas, make sure to check us out at www.blueoakinvest.com/Hollister Oaks. Make sure to reach out to Brian and I. Would love to talk with you, man. We got a great project for you. So, but that is a perfect segue, Brian, into a conversation that kind of led us to today's point, right? So, I had somebody reach out to me the other day and just talking shop and just asking about our trajectory and kind of, what the growth that we've had over the past 2 years or so. And the overall question that really stood out to me, which is really just kind of, again, kind of the preface to this conversation today is, what was the one common denominator that really was the catalyst to our success so far? And, in my response to that friend was like, look, there's so many ways you can answer that question, right? There's so many variables that played into, our growth and where we're at. And by no means are we anywhere close to where we want to be, right? We always say that we're just now getting started, but we've been fortunate to have such a great year this year. But it's really hard to pinpoint just one particular variable that was like, okay, this was the turning point for us, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things, right? You want to be able to look back and say, what was the one thing that I did that helped me get to where I'm at now, right? That helped me be successful, that helped me get that first deal, that helped me raise that first $100,000, wherever you're at, right? Everybody's looking for that one thing. But the bad news is there isn't one thing. There isn't this button you can sort of push and it instantly takes you off and leads you to the promised land, so to speak. It's a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of work. And there's a lot of things we can definitely talk about in today's episode for sure.
Yeah. And I know it's a question that we ask all of our guests, right? It's one of the final four questions that we ask everybody, right? Is, hey, what was that one defining moment, that one, time in your business where your trajectory changed for the better, right? And so we asked that similar question. But what's funny is you look back and you think about those responses. It's very rare that you get the same response, right? Everybody has a unique answer or a different answer. And again, it goes back to that point we're just making, right? Where it's just not one variable. There's just so many different aspects to growth and success. And I think you're a small business owner, you know this, and real estate aside, as a coffee shop owner, retail business owner, that this is translatable across all business, not just real estate, right? Where there's so many factors that go into really building a successful business and driving a successful business, right?
Yep. It's one of those, we talk about the iceberg model, right? People on the outside looking in. They go to a restaurant, they go to a retail place, they go to a movie theater, whatever. They see a real estate investor, whether they're single family, multifamily, whatever. And they go, wow, that business is successful. They're making tons of money. They're killing it. They're buying deals left and right. But what they don't see is the years and years of, I'll use the word suffering very lightly, sometimes maybe literally, but of hard work that goes into it. You get 1,000 no's before you hear that one yes on the real estate side, or you have to serve a ton of people or do a ton of transactions and be open for years and years and years. Sometimes not even, at a profit, right? You may not even be operating at a profit, but you're still chugging along every day, putting in the work, putting in the sweat, putting in, the blood, sweat, and tears, as they like to say. And one day you sort of wake up and you're just like, wow, things are going pretty well. You start making some money, things start getting easier, but it takes a lot of time, and it's different for everybody, right? You never really know when it is. We've all heard the stories of the 12-month person that like bought 1,000 units in 12 months or something. And it's just like killing it and retired, right? We've heard those, but those aren't the norm, right? And most people take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years for them to build their business before they get to a point where they're really on cruise control, so to speak, and things are just naturally flowing. They got that snowball going.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges or barriers that a lot of people face, is that time commitment. It's not just the hard work that goes into it, but it's the patience and discipline it takes to go through those challenges and fight through those barriers, and be willing to make the sacrifices over a long extended period of time. Because as we all know, this is definitely not a get rich quick business by any means. It's built slowly over time. And if you don't have that discipline to fight through those challenges and wait the 3 to 5 years before all that hard work starts really aligning and opportunities start presenting themselves, then you're just going to end up being frustrated and scratching your head and then trying to make a pivot. And we see that often, right? I mean, how many times do we see people that get out right before, like, they're just right on the cusp of having that big breakthrough, and then they tire out, right? And then they back out. And so, but again, there's so many, man, that's just a whole nother conversation we could go down. I think it's a whole nother episode about like the barriers and the challenges and just the mindset it takes to go through. But, I want to really focus on, us, Blue Oak Capital. I wish John was here with us. I know he was trying to, but timing, unfortunately. But let's look back and let's talk about like some of the different things that really kind of added to that escalation and that acceleration of our success this year. Like, looking back from your journey, from the time that we first met and started talking about, forming the trio here at Blue Oak Capital, what was one of the things that you maybe stood out from you from the very beginning that you saw like, hey, this is a positive impact?
Yeah, some of these things I'll preface by saying they're going to sound really cheesy because everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, well, duh. But here's the reality. A lot of people don't do the things that are very obvious. I talk about this all the time in the retail, hospitality, food service industry, right? Everybody thinks owning a restaurant's easy. You make good food, you be really nice to people, you keep the place clean. That's the magic sauce, right? But how many places actually do it? The list is pretty short, right? We all know the places that do and we love them. And it's the same with real estate, right? So I would say for us, one of them is focus, right? We've been extremely focused on what we set our mind to. We've tried to not, I know you've shared your stories on the episode, on other episodes about, some shiny object syndromes that you've had, right? Not only with different ventures, but, we haven't looked at mobile home parks or, triple net leases or anything like that. We've been strictly focused and exclusive on existing multifamily assets, right? In a particular size too, right? We weren't looking at 10 units and 15 units and 20 units. We were looking at things that were a particular size, a particular vintage. And I think that's been a big catalyst to our success. It's just not letting the no's that we heard along the way change our focus. If we were looking at 70 units or 80 units or 90 units and we kept getting told no, then we shouldn't go, okay, well, maybe we should look at a 15 unit because maybe we'll hear yes on that. Like, no, this is our buy box, right? So I think staying extremely focused on what we're trying to accomplish and what we're looking for definitely helped with our success. We weren't willing to deviate just because we were hearing a lot of no's along the way.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, man. And it was tempting, right? I mean, all the surplus of opportunity that was out there, and both big and small, and partnerships, and there was just these past two years, 24 months, there's been so many opportunities coming about, and it's very easy, especially when you're younger in the business as an entrepreneur. It's very easy to kind of get caught up in that and get lost in all that opportunity, because you don't want, you have that fear of missing out, right? You don't want to miss out on the great opportunity. But what happens is you start chasing down rabbit holes. You start going down paths that you probably don't have any business going down, or like you said, that deviate from your investing thesis or your core principles. And you end up wasting a lot of time, a lot of effort, sometimes a lot of money. I know I've been there, But yeah, man, I definitely agree with you. Focus was huge, especially starting out. And I know that was a commitment that we made getting Blue Oak started, was like, listen, this is who we are. This is who we're going to be. And no matter how long it takes, we're going to stick with that core principle and that core thesis. And I mean, look, it paid off, right? It took us 18 months in total, but man, that first deal came, and then it's just been snowballing from there, right? Just because we had that focus. So I agree with that, man. I think another one looking back for me was probably, anybody that's been listening to the show for some time, you've heard us say this before, but following the script, right? And listening to the industry leaders and influencers in the space that really have shed the light on their business and the key drivers that have helped them find their success. And they've put that out and made it public, whether it be through podcast mediums, whether it be through thought leadership, other thought leaderships, books, whatever it is. But, that guys that have out there and shared their framework and have put it out there, and what we did, right, is just followed it. I know when I got started in multifamily, following guys like Joe Fairless, Michael Blanc, the Whitney Sewells, but basically taking these frameworks that were already put there and just following it to the T, I mean, to the letter, and at first it was kind of hard to see that development and see, how all of it was coming together. But looking back now, it was like almost step by step, exactly what they said to do. Hey, do this, do this, do this, do this. And as a result, things flourish and opportunity pops up, whether that be through investor relations and networking, whether it be through marketing and branding, whether that be through opportunity. And I think that was key, and just following that script, right?
I agree. I mean, we are naturally, as human beings, we want to be different. We always say we want to be unique. I want to be special. I want to be one of a kind. But this is one of those businesses where it's proven that following the track record and not necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel and start from scratch and be like your own unique thing necessarily is going to make it a little bit harder. And in my opinion, it doesn't mean you can't have your own brand with your own focus and, sort of be taking a different approach necessarily. But at the same time, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Somebody else has sort of laid out the trajectory for you, the road for you. And in real estate, it's a very old vehicle for investing, right? It's tried and true. People have been investing in real estate for a very long time. There's no reason for anybody to come and try to reinvent the wheel. So I think that's one of those things. I know when I was getting started, I thought like, man, I gotta be unique. I gotta be different. And we hear this all the time, right? People say, why would I start a podcast? There's 1,000 other podcasts out there. Or why would I host a meetup? There's 3 or 4 other meetups in my local area. Or why would I start syndicating apartments? There's like 1,000 syndicators out there. But that's not the right mindset you want to have if you're going to be successful. You can't be comparing yourself to others. If you're always comparing yourself to others, you're always going to be behind the ball, because there's always a bigger fish in the sea, right? Even if you own 20,000 units, somebody owns 25, right? And this is how the industry works, right? So you can't be comparing yourself to others, and you have to realize, like, this is the script, this is what works. Real estate is evolving, but at the same time, it's a very slow moving evolution. So just staying focused on what's going on and trying not to reinvent the script, and just follow the industry leaders. And it's proven that it works.
Yeah, and there's so many of them out there, right? And there's so many out there that you can align with and just identify with and figure out what you like about their business that you can, like what we always like to quote, mimic, right? It's like
inspiration.
Inspiration. That's right. It's a copycat league. But I mean, ultimately, there's a reason why you see consistencies in the way people operate their business, because it works. It works. And then to your point about, and I'm so glad you brought this up, man, is quit comparing yourself to everybody else. And look, I've been guilty of it. You've been guilty of it. We all do at times, right? But at the end of the day, you got to look yourself in the mirror. Brian, as close as we are at Blue Oak, and as much as our synergies align, Brian Alfaro is very different than Cody Laughlin. Sure. And we're, you can't look at one another and compare each other, because you're not the same. So quit worrying about what other people are doing. You focus on your own path and look yourself in the mirror. You are your only limitation. It's not Grant Cardone who's doing, $2 billion of projects a year. His path is completely different than you and I. And so I think that's important. I know that's a message that's hitting home for a lot of people right now that are going to be tuning in, because, especially right now, every other day you can pull up your feed right now, your Facebook feed right now, your social media, LinkedIn, somebody's closing a deal. Somebody's got another one in contract. Somebody just raised 10 or $20 million in 36 hours, something crazy. But that's them. That's not you, So I love that point, man. That's a great point. Oh, you went on mute, Brian.
Focus on yourself. Absolutely.
There you go. Awesome, man. All right, man. So let's see what else. Think about another time in our journey that, you felt like, okay, this is going to propel us to the next level.
I think there's just something to be said about being genuine, right? When you have a call with somebody, or you're on Zoom, or you meet them in person, you can tell when somebody is genuine, and they're in the business for good reasons, and they're trying to help propel their business, but they're also trying to help propel your business, right? So when you're interacting with people, even if you're new, right, just being honest, being humble, and saying, look, I'm just getting started. Here's my background. I either do or I don't have any experience, and just being transparent with people. I think, that's something that we've been told from a feedback standpoint that people really value about us, is that we try to be as transparent as possible, right? And there's something to be said about that in the industry, because people that aren't transparent, people that aren't, humble and that don't do things the right way and don't operate with integrity, those people stand out, and you usually can meet them, and they don't last very long. So, if you're in this business, you got to be in it for the right reasons, because it is very hard. And those are, things that really stand out when you're having conversations with people. So I just think overall, I think that's something that's really important for people to remember when they're getting in, is, be transparent, be honest, just own where you're at, and then also own where you want to be, right? Let the world know where you want to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to remember, it's a people-driven industry, right? I mean, every aspect of our business, involves people and relationships, whether that be the residents of your communities, the property managers that you're managing, your employees, and then ultimately the people that you're partnering with, or your investing partners, your limited partners. Like, every aspect of our business touches people in some way.
Yeah. And I think that was sorry to cut you off, Cody, but I think that was a turning point sort of in our business. When you're new, you're so focused on the numbers. And I'm not saying buy bad deals, don't focus on the numbers. It's not what I'm saying at all. But I think we've learned, especially over the last, called 6-9 months, give or take, the relationships are so much more important, right? Because you can have a deal where the numbers do work, but if you don't have a relationship with the broker, a relationship with the seller, a relationship with a passive investor, you're not going to get that deal. You're not going to get that, that vendor. You're not going to get that 50, 75, or $100,000, right? So I think that's something a lot of newer people, whether they're active or passive, get overly consumed by, is the numbers. We've heard, right, you got to bet on the jockey, not the horse. We've heard, it's all about relationships, right? The deal that we're in is, all the deals we're in are all relationship based opportunities that have been presented to us. So just another point I wanted to make sure I highlighted.
Yeah, it's a great point, man. It's a point well taken, because you're absolutely right. I think at the end of the day, you're building relationships with people. You're connecting with people. I 100% agree. And it's been so awesome for us. I mean, putting ourselves out there and networking with so many people on so many different platforms, and just, looking back on all the relationships that we've been able to form, and all the new relationships that we're constantly trying to build. At the end of the day, like you said, it's all about being able to provide value to somebody, whether that benefits you or not, right? It doesn't matter. Like, I think you have to put other people's interests before yours, right? You can't worry about what is it in for, like, what's in it for you, and how we talked about, we tell this story all the time, right? How many times have we referred passive investors to other operators, or, other partners to other potential people looking for partners, or something like that, just because, we want to help people find and achieve their goals, right? Whether that means that we get to be a part of that or benefit from that, it doesn't matter. Like, we just want to help people. And I think that goes back to your point about being genuine.
Yeah, what goes around comes around. It's an old, again, cheesy saying, but it's so true. And we found it time and time again, right? People have helped us out when we needed it and didn't expect anything in return. And we've helped people out who needed it and didn't expect anything in return. And there's just something to be said about people that you meet in the industry. They're people you want to work with, whether you're, again, a vendor, or on the active side, passive side, the debt side, it doesn't really matter. So it's just, you got to be in it for the right reasons, and be looking to help people achieve their goals. And there's that saying, right? If you help other people achieve your goals, you're going to find that you naturally accomplish your own goals, if not even further exceed what you thought you could accomplish. So just find a way to serve other people.
Yeah, man. 100% agree. 100% agree. Awesome, man. So thinking through this, looking back, I think another thing that was really a game changer for us, and this year too, was getting out of our comfort zone. And it took us some time, right? And I think it took a lot of effort to build up the confidence it took for us to get uncomfortable. And what do I mean by that? Like, looking back at our first opportunity to raise capital, for example, for a general partnership, we were presented an opportunity, and in evaluating that opportunity, we were like, hey, look, we feel like we have a broader audience that are more non-accredited investors, that we could potentially bring more value with, that type of a 506B raise. And then the opportunity of being a 506C raise. And it was kind of one of those moments where you're like, you gotta crap or get off the pot, right? You got to make a decision and get uncomfortable. And I'm so thankful that we did that, and we made the decision to say, you know what, screw it, we're going to go for it, because that propelled us. I really do feel like that propelled us into all the opportunities we got this year, because it pushed us to go work our tails off. Number one, it pushed us to go, present ourselves in a way that we can add that value and prove that we can add that value, right? We knew we could, I think, internally. Like, we knew that we put the systems in place. We knew we'd been building relationships, but we hadn't been able to test it. And I think that was the really big moment where it was that proof of concept that really just was a staple for us.
That's right. I always say you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable in real estate, which is, it's really what it's all about. Because whether, if you start buying small deals, then you buy medium deals, then you buy large deals, the entire time you're scaling up, you're slightly uncomfortable, right? Because you're doing something that you never did before. If you're a passive investor and you've never put 50 or 75 or $100,000 in a deal, that makes you uncomfortable, right? So, but there's a saying too that, or I always say this, at least to myself, that success is on the other side of comfort, right? So what's easy is not always what's right. I mean, there's all these, textbook kind of quotes you can say, but There's a reason that people say those things. It's because they're true, right? Because all the good things in life are hard. They make you uncomfortable. They push your limits. They push your boundaries, right? When you think you're going to break, you grow, right? So I agree with that 100%. We were sort of following the textbook real estate investing, the stuff you kind of read in a textbook in college, right? About certain things. And then you realize like, oh, wait, the business actually works much differently than what's in the textbooks. And once you figure that out and you sort of crack that code and you realize that it's a lot of who you know, not necessarily what you know, and it's relationship based, which we've been talking about, and you get comfortable with that idea that it's more about the relationships than it is about sort of the other details that you might be thinking about, you start building a little bit of momentum every day. You start talking to people differently. You start getting more confidence. You start getting, if you're active, you start getting in, better positions to win opportunities. It just changes the whole game. It changes your whole mindset when you just sit down with the fact that I'm a little uncomfortable right now because I'm getting pushed out of my comfort zone. So I definitely agree with that statement, Cody.
Yeah, and I think it tells you a lot about who you are as a person and as an entrepreneur, right? Because if you're not willing to get uncomfortable, or even if you are willing to get uncomfortable, but you're not able to handle it, then that tells you a lot about who you are as an entrepreneur. And I mean, look, you have to have, skin that's thick as leather. You have to have, the ability to get kicked in the teeth and get back up and just go back and do it again, and it's not easy to do. I mean, we've all been there. Like we've hit those lows. We've had to pick each other up ourselves. Right. I mean, it's definitely not, it's not all sunshine and rainbows throughout the journey, but, if you're not the type of individual that can weather those storms and that can go through those challenges and pick yourself back up, then, hey, look, man, there's nothing wrong with it, but business, being a business owner may not be for you, being an entrepreneur may not be for you. And that's okay. And, a lot of people have that realization. I realized through all my chasing shiny objects that I'm suited for one type of, business or one type of personality that I am, the value proposition that I can bring to a team. But it took me going through those hard lessons to learn that. But I digress a little bit here, but the point is I think I look back now and I can bet that there's many listeners that can resonate with this. Like if you look back on how many opportunities that you lost out, whether that be partnership opportunities, maybe deals that you could have bought or acquired because the numbers weren't quite right, or you just couldn't come up that little bit more. You couldn't put up that hard earnest money, whatever the case may be. You just couldn't quite get out of that comfort zone enough to go do what it takes to get it done. And then you saw somebody else snatch it up and turn it into a big success. And then now you're sitting here scratching your head or kicking yourself like, man. And I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, right? There's still deals that right now today that still bother me that we lost out because we just couldn't quite get uncomfortable enough. It's unfortunate, but look, I think if you look at what propelled us, like right now, we talked about our acquisition we're working on now, there's so much work that's going to go into this thing, right? And there's so much effort that's going to that has to be put into this thing to make sure that we execute, no doubt. But our desire and our willingness to finally break down those chains and say, you know what, we're going to go do what it takes. We're not going to be second place anymore. We're not going to be third place anymore. We're going to go do what it takes to finally win. And we did that, right? And I think that was a big step for us in our growth individually and as a business.
Absolutely. And I think the point here is those failures are so important. I think too many people are afraid to fail. They're afraid to lose the deal. They're afraid that, whatever part of the business you're in, they're just afraid of the failure. They're afraid, you don't want to make a catastrophic mistake that sinks your business, right? We're not talking about those types of failures, but they're afraid of the little losses that you can take every single day. But those little losses, if you're learning something from them, right? If we didn't get in 8, 9, I think it was 8 best in finals before this deal, how many properties have we underwritten this year? You underwritten, Cody? I mean, 300 plus. I mean, it's an insane amount of numbers, right? If we didn't go through that process, all those little failures, we wouldn't be in the position that we're at now. to potentially have an rewarding opportunity, not only for ourselves, but for all of our partners that are going to come along with us for the journey, for all the vendors that are going to be a part of the deal, that are going to take care of the property, the brokers, the insurance people. It's making the world go around, right? But we had to get uncomfortable. We had to take some risks. We had to fail a bunch. We had to hear 1,000 no's or however many properties we've underwritten and submitted offers on over the last couple of years before you get one yes. But those are the things that sort of make it all worth it. Because guess what? When we close this deal, it's going to be even sweeter. And this is the baby, right? Like we're going to work, excuse my friends, we're going to work our ass off because this is so important to us. We work so hard for it that we want to make sure that not only we succeed, but our investors come along for the journey as well. And there's all these elements that kind of come along with it, but you have to get comfortable with failing because you're not going to get anywhere if you don't fail along the way.
As you were talking about that, like I'm a sports fan, you're a sports fan, and we're going to drum up a little mess here, but in my opinion, Michael Jordan, one of the best basketball player to ever play the game, nonetheless.
Sure.
Everybody probably knows the story, right? But he was asked many years ago about all the many shots that he's made, game-winning shots, and all the points that he's made. And what was funny in his response, he said, "Yeah, but I've missed X amount of shots." And it always stayed with him, and it was always in the back of his mind. It was all those shots that he missed that he could have made, all those game-winning shots that he missed at the buzzer that could have been the difference in the game. And what it did is it drove him and propelled him to be the most competitive player on the court every game. It propelled him to become the best basketball player in the NBA history. You can debate that, whoever else, but you get my point is, he will forever be a staple in basketball history for who he was as not only a competitor, but as an athlete, as an individual, as somebody who just always wanted to be the absolute best. But he had to miss all of those shots to be that person, right? He had to, like you said, go through those failures to be that athlete, to be that the best of the best. And I think that's something that it's not easy to do. It's a mindset shift for sure. Like it's a constant mindset dynamic, but you have to have that killer instinct. You have to have that mentality. And like you said, you have to be willing to go through the hard times to get to the good times.
Right. When we were at our mastermind, what was that, a couple months ago, Robert Martinez said something that, again, it just stuck with me and it probably will for a while. He said, "How bad do you want it?" Right. Just let that sit for a second. For anybody who's just starting to get into multifamily or is just looking for their next deal, how bad do you want it? Right. And if you don't want it that bad, guess what? You're not going to get it. I can promise you're not going to get it because every day somebody decides they're going to start investing in multifamily. They're going to move from single family to multifamily. Every day somebody's moving from office to multifamily. Every day it gets harder and harder to get your foot in the door in this industry. Right. And we've seen that, it's different 6 months ago, 12 months ago than it was today. So if you don't really want it, you're not going to get it. You're not going to find that success. You're not going to get that first deal. You're going to hesitate every time it's time to passively invest in your first opportunity because you really don't want it, right? So you got to have that mindset, like you said, of just being willing to do the work, be patient, find the right opportunity for you and your investing thesis. And ultimately, good things happen as long as you stay consistent and focused and do all the things we're talking about, right? Just networking, being a good person, adding value, education, super important. All the things that we talk about all the time. But I agree, man. It's just one of those things that you gotta have that mindset, that Michael Jordan mindset. That you gotta be an assassin. Is kind of what I like to say, right? You just can't let anything stand in your way. Just go for it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, let's see, Brian. God, I love this conversation because as we keep going, man, there's so many different variables that just have been absolute game changers for us. But I think another one that I'm super proud of, I know you're super proud of, especially because you've been the lead behind our initiative when it comes to our marketing and our branding, right? Our brand ambassador. And I'm super proud of everything that we've really put together, really over the past 12, 18 months, as far as our brand presence and what we're doing. And I would tell people that are looking to get started, you have to make an investment in your brand. in your marketing. You have to. And you look at like all the revenue that we've been able to generate thus far, we have been putting it into our business, right? We've been taking that sacrifice. We have not taken a single dollar in our own pocket. It's all going back to the business. So that way we continue to accelerate our growth. But a lot of that is really being allocated to our marketing budget, right? We spend a lot of money each month on marketing, but for good reason. And I mean, I think it pays off. We get compliments all the time about our marketing strategies and whatnot, which is always humbling. But more so, it's led us to connect with so many high caliber people. You know, both from operators and syndicators to investors. Across the entire United States, across the entire industry. So that's another one that I look back on, and I'm like, I'm really, really super proud that we made that investment and that persistent investment to continue to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, investing in yourself is super important, right? If you're a passive investor, you should be investing in your education, period. You got to make sure you make the best decisions for you, your family, and your capital, right? If you're an active investor, not only do you need to be investing in your education, but you need to be investing in your brand, whether that's your personal brand, it might be your name, which is fine, right? It could be Cody Laughlin Investments, whatever, right? Or Brian Alfaro Investments, whatever. Or if you have a brand like Blue Oak Capital, right? Or some of these other brands that we see in the multifamily space. But either way, you need to be investing in that brand and trying to build it or build your name to be as strong as possible, because your name is super important in this industry. You want people to say good things about you. You want people to know who you are, and referrals are super important in this business. You hear that from some of the big industry leaders, the Dan Hanfords and the Neil Bawas. Like a very large portion of their client base is people that have been passively investing and been very happy and successful, and they refer their friends, right? So building your brand and investing is in yourself is really important. And like you said, from a capital side, you got to be willing to spend that money, right? There's a saying, again, I'm full of them today. If you got to spend some money to make some money, right? Or at the casino, we like to say scared money don't make money. So you got to be willing to make some investments from a capital standpoint into your brand, right? Marketing, digital platforms, SEO, Facebook stuff, LinkedIn stuff, whatever your sort of medium is that you're planning on connecting people with, especially if you're short on time or you're short on experience. If you're not a marketing person or you don't have a ton of time, there's tons of industry experts. We wouldn't be where we're at if we hadn't talked to the right people, and we're still finding new ones every day that can help our business grow. And we're still investing in our business every single day. We've got calls coming up with people for brand evaluation and marketing and different things like that, right? So as you scale, it changes. You don't need to go from 0 to 100, right? You don't need to do that, but chip away at it every single day. I mean, I know for me personally, I had some periods probably last year where I was thinking like, man, we're moving so slow. We're moving so slow. It's just not moving fast enough, right? We've got this laundry list of things we want to do from a marketing standpoint. We want to put out more educational content. We want to do more with the podcast. We want to do more with the meetup. We want to find a way to continue to add value to people in the multifamily space, but there's only so much time in the day, and there's only so much capital as well. So you just got to chip away at it, take it day by day. And Rome wasn't built in a day. So you just got to keep doing it every day, every month, every quarter. And then, you'll realize, you'll look back, and I know we're going to look back in a year or two and we're going to be like, this is crazy. Right. Mm-hmm. But it takes 3 years, takes 4 years, takes 5 years. And like we've been saying, that's the hard part. Can you wait it out?
Yeah. Can you wait it out? Can you make that investment yourself, knowing that, like you said, it is costly, and there's some cost efficient ways to do this, right? I mean, there's, especially if you're just starting. I mean, listen, having something is better than nothing. And that's what people need to understand. But this is something, in our opinion, we've talked about this in previous episodes, that is so critical. And we've all heard that saying, that's all about who you know. No, it's not. It's about who knows you, right? And if the world doesn't know who you are, you could be the best damn operator in the world. You're never going to find a passive investor to invest with you. You're never going to find the right partners to partner with you to help you scale. Like, people need to know you, but they can't do that if you're not out there making that investment, sharing your brand, sharing your message and whatnot. And I mean, again, to reference Grant Cardone, like him, hate him, doesn't matter.
Still talking about him.
You're still talking about him, and he's winning because you're still talking about him. And that's the point, is you have to be in people's faces. You have to be visible. And it's hard, man. It's hard. I've told you this before, 2.5 years ago, couldn't tell you how to make a Facebook post, had no idea on even how to look up an event or whatever else, and
Now
now we
you've got
get,
your own hashtag.
now I got my own
Times have
hashtag.
changed.
Isn't it a beautiful thing? But that brings up a point. If I can do it,
That's right.
anybody can do it. And if you don't have a digital presence today, if you do not have a marketing presence today, you're dead in the water. You
I
are
agree with
dead.
that.
You're dead in the water. So, um, anyway, and look, man, it's a perfect time to say, I mean, kudos to you and all the effort that you've put into really helping us push the brand and push the marketing. I know you've helped me step up in and being more aware on the brand presence and things like that. So you've done a phenomenal job for us in doing that, man. So kudos to you. You deserve all the recognition for that, man.
No,
So we
man, it's a
appreciate
team
that.
effort. Everything's a team effort. I'm very humbled to be a part of Blue Oak Capital and our journey, and thankful for all of our investors that notice everything that we're doing, because we're all working at it. We're all chipping away, and it's a team effort, man.
It is, man. And what a great team it is, man. So it's been fun. But all right, Brian, man, what's one last point that you can think of that was a catalyst for us?
Mm, so many good ones. We've talked about a lot of great ones, right? We've talked about not being scared, not fearing failure. We've talked about being genuine. The list of stuff we've talked about is really, really important. We talk all the time about education, so I mean that's a really obvious one. I think my probably one of my top ones is being present. There's something to be said about showing up, right? And it's hard. You and I both have families. We're recording podcasts super early in the morning, super late at night. We're going to Zoom meetings after work. We're hosting live in-person meetings. We're flying out of town on the weekends. We're flying out of town midweek to go to multifamily conferences. But there's something to be said about being everywhere, right? There's people that show up and there's people that don't show up. And there's lots of guys that show up and say, I want to invest in multifamily. I want to own 1,000 doors. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be a passive investor and retire early. And then you never see them again. They disappear, right? Because they're not willing to continue to show up. So I think that's been a big key to our success. I mean, I wish we went to some more events, and I feel like we've gotten out there pretty good this year. And I know we got our list already. We got trips planned in January and February and stuff already going on. So for anybody who's interested in getting in space or growing their business, man, you got to show up. You got to network. It doesn't matter if it's a room full of newer investors or a room full of experienced investors. Like, you got to be present, show up, be accountable, and good things will tend to happen when they're like, man, that guy Cody just won't go away. He won't leave me alone. He's always asking me if I want to passively invest, or he's always asking me if I can get a preempt that offer on that deal before it hits the market. So I think that's been a big key to our success. So definitely, I think kudos to the team. I know you and I get out there a lot, and John wishes he could, but we spend a lot of time and effort trying to be as forward facing as possible.
Yeah, that's another great point, Brian, and it can't be understated. I mean, you can only have so many phone calls in a day. You can only have so many Zoom calls, but there's just something to be said about being present, like you said, in the market, on property tours with brokers, meeting with brokers and investors, going to conferences, meeting people from all over the country. I would completely agree with you, man. I think how many people have come up to us and that have connected with us through our thought leadership platforms or our social media presence, and then just being there in person to kind of validate what they're hearing or what they're seeing, and see that, yeah, we are genuine people. We're just everyday people like everybody else that's just trying to go out there and grow our business. But it makes that final connection with people. And again, whether that be investors, partners, brokers, it doesn't matter. Those who show up are the ones that find the opportunity. And those who are sitting at home behind their computer screens, or just, hesitant to get out there, those are the ones that are sitting stagnant. And that's the reality. And you got to get out there. And I know, like, just for an example, our acquisition that we're working on now, that we're under contract for, we weren't the highest bidder, but because we were local here in our area, we were the ones that were here. present, visible every day, it gave us those extra push, to really, get afforded that opportunity. And there's just something, again, you can't understate the value of just being there in person, being present for sure.
Yeah, it just shows you're serious. It's as simple as
That's
that,
exactly right.
right?
Yeah.
You call a broker and you say, "Hey, I want to buy some multifamily properties," and they say, "Cool." Well, how many other times a day do they get that call? 100, something. It's crazy. It's a big number, right? But if you show up for property tours over and over and over again for months and months and months and years and years and years, they're gonna say like, "Okay, well, this guy is not going to quit," and the his time or her time will come. So yeah, man, you just have to show up. It sounds hard. It is really hard to show up to your 100th property tour and you still haven't bought one, or your 50th or 30th or whatever the number is for you, or to talk to your 20th, 30th investor and maybe you still haven't had a deal and taken somebody's capital yet, right? Or you don't have those properties to manage and you've been studying asset management and you want to kind of hit your head on the wall sometimes that it's another day and you still haven't gotten there. But that's part of the journey, man. Our good friend, lots of guys in Jake and Gino, our good friend Darren Light always says you have to learn and enjoy the journey. And I remember he said that to me when we got in pretty early, and I had to think about that for a second. But here we are, and like what we've been saying, we're just getting started. But you can start to feel the journey and feel the momentum. And you just got to learn to enjoy it, right? Every day is a new challenge. There's always something to work on every day. But there's something to be said about enjoying the journey and showing up, being present.
Yeah, and I think being present also too comes with sacrifices. You're going to have to make sacrifices, and along the way, whether that's time doing something that you really wanted to do, missing that vacation, I don't know. So there's so many different examples that you could use, but there's sacrifices that need to be made to be present. But those who, like you said it perfectly, those who are willing to make those sacrifices and show up, those are the ones that are finding that success. So I agree.
Yep.
So Brian, man, look, we can go on and on and on about this particular topic. I mean, we've got several that we've discussed here in detail now, but I feel like this could be across multiple different episodes and just talking about all the different key factors for us. But here's the things that I want everybody to listen to, folks, for anybody that's tuning in. This is not a stagnant formula of you do X plus Y and it equals Z, right? There's no one formula that is just step by step to find your success. It is so many factors and variables that play into it. And we listed just some that we felt were most impactful. But again, I know I've got tons of them that we could still talk about. But my message to everybody that's tuning in today is quit looking for the one factor. Quit looking for the one variable, because if you're looking for the one thing that's going to just change everything for you, you're going to miss out. It's a growth. It's a process of growth. It's a process of learning. It's a process of doing all the things that we talked about today, but really, pulling multiple different things together to really find the success. And that's both for you as an individual and as your business. And so I would just encourage anybody that's tuning in today, quit looking for that one right answer and just go to work, just go to work and I mean, that's it. That's all I got, Brian. I mean, it's as simple as that,
Yeah, it goes back to the start of the conversation when I was talking about restaurant stuff, how the formula is very simple. And there's your formula. Is go to work, right? Put in the time, put in the effort, talk to the right people, be genuine, be humble, no matter how small or how big you get. Show up, right? This is the formula for success. And it's not the one thing. Like if you just show up, you're going to be successful. Or if you just, be genuine, you're going to be successful. You got to do a little bit of everything all the time. And like you said, put in the work and good things tend to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great way to end the show, man. Really appreciate the conversation. This has been awesome. I think there needs to be more of this real talk in there, in the industry. And it's not always about the nuts and bolts, right? It's not always about the numbers, like you said. It's this.
Yeah, and there's no one size fit. It's not a one size fits all.
No,
not everybody gets to where we might end up in the same place, but how we get there, totally different
totally
roads,
different.
totally different journeys.
Yep. I completely agree, man. I completely agree. All right, folks. Well, you know what to do. If you want to connect with Brian and I, make sure to check us out across our social media platforms. Check us out on our website. Of course, you can always email us individually, Cody or Brian at blueoakinvest.com. Again, if you want to find a way to partner with us and you want to learn more about our latest acquisition, check us out at www.blueoakinvest.com/Hollister Oaks. And we'd love to chat with you about that. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. We look forward to the next episode.